All right, licensing you went over. Feel free to reuse the material, CC by share alike. Okay, so I'm Mélanie Courtot. I'm a PI, principal investigator here at OSCR. I work in this building, which is a fantastic building. If you haven't been here before, it's really, really cool. So I have two hats. I have a software engineering team, and I have a research lab who's looking into data standard, data structure. So data is really at the core of what I do, and I'm really, really happy to see so many people interested in data, open science, reproducible data, and yeah, thanks for joining us today here. I will keep the introduction short because the agenda is packed for the rest of the afternoon. What the objective was when we decided to put this course together, we wanted to think about what's research data management, long words, long mouthful, as Alex was saying. And most importantly, what should I care? Why do I need to care about research data management? Doesn't sound necessarily super appealing. And then, thinking about open science, reusing the data, reproducible data, and how that may or not intersect with research data management principles. And hopefully by the end of the day, you'll have a little bit more insight on why it matters, how you should do it, and then some tools that the rest of the faculty will provide for the afternoon. So why does it matter? Well, there's a real, reproducibility crisis where we just cannot reproduce data. It's really easy. You can search for, crisis of reproducibility. You'll get a bunch of hits. I picked two because they're relatively recent stories. I suspect most of us work with computer here in the room, and there was recently, if you ask Google or ChatGPT, hey, my eyes are itchy, and it's going to say, are you working with computer? And you say, yes. It's, oh, you may have bixominomania. What the heck is that? And so it's coming from a preprint that a team of scientists published in, I think, 2024, and they fed it, and it was very obviously wrong and fake. They credit the USS Enterprise in references and things like that, but it was published as a preprint and AI picked it up, and AI inferred there was a real disease, that people were actually suffering, and it was recommending that you get checked for the disease. The other story that came up is some AI system have reused data. Some of it may have been used in actual clinical applications. You go see your doctor, AI says you should get that treatment, and there's not really, when you try and go back to the data source and you ask people, hey, where does your data come from? Where does your conclusion come from? You're like, I cannot tell you, or I'm not sure where it's coming from. Which, if you're getting treatment based on data, you'd rather want to make sure that the data is solid and the inference is reasonable. So data management, really important, real impact, real life. You need to know where your data is coming from, how it was used, and how it's going to be used in the future by the tools that you may or will be developing in the future. And so it's, as I said, field-wide problems. Those are just two examples. There were a couple of surveys. The references are at the end of the slide, but they were showing that 70% of scientists fail to reproduce lab results. So even though you publish a paper, you put in all the methods, you put in all the data set, you point to Zenodo or whatever, it's still really, really hard to reproduce existing results. That doesn't cost cheap, When we do research, we cost money, reagent cost money, data cost money, storage cost money, everything costs money. A paper in 2015 estimated that not being able to reuse and reproduce data cost 28 billion in the US only. Which if we could save that money, that'd be nice for future research. And the last example that I really like is the one where they say, we're all using Excel. We're all storing our data in Excel spreadsheet, right? Like we wish we were doing something a little bit better, but at the end of the day, spreadsheet's great. Excel is very nice, but reformat stuff. So if you do SEP1, it's going to assume you're talking about a date. They even propose to rename genes instead of changing Excel. They say it's going to be easier to change the biology than change the way the tool works, which I think is a little bit sad somehow. And this is not a problem that's going away. This is even getting worse with the years. At publication, typically you can find 90% of the data. So, you publish your paper, your nice Nature, your first author, great, you have all the data. It's all linkable. But if you look at it 10, 20 years later, it's almost all disappeared. Even the system went down, the project had no further funding, the postdoc left the lab, the grad student graduated. It's really a problem that the data disappears, because that means if you want to reuse the information, you will need to redo the experiment, you will need to chase down the grad student, as grad students, your code lives on your laptop, doesn't necessarily live in a nice repository, reproducible, and it disappears as you graduate the library. Anyway, it's a big mess. And it's not a small, big mess. It's an expensive mess. Yeah, and so in response to that problem that's been really widely acknowledged in the recent years, most of the tri-agency policies, including NIH in the US and other, are going to require, if you ever write a grant and if you want to get money from an institution, you will have to include a research data management plan. And the first time I had to do one, I'm like, holy shit, what do they want for the research data management plan? And that's really the answer we're trying to bring today, because it can be a little bit daunting thinking about what do I need to put in there? How do I make it solid? How can I make my data reusable for the future? And so what the research data management for reproducible science means is about you're going to generate data. How do you collect that data? What documentation do you need to do? How do you store the data? What type of data is it? If it's human data, you're going to want to have encryption. You're going to have to run safety system. How are you going to share it? Who are you going to share it with? How long will you retain that data in the project and beyond the project? When your money ends, what do you do with the data? And so there's both the research data itself, you run your sample on the sequencer, you're getting a nice DNA sequence, you can get images, you can get survey responses. There's a bunch of data that's actually the research data, the core of the information that matters, but there's also the metadata, which is the story about your data. How was the data generated? When was the instrument that was used? How? I always like to say metadata is kind of your own post-it love note to the future. So in 5 years, when you look at your data set, will you remember how it was generated? So think of it as your little love note to yourself in 5 years. Yes, I can still do it. So yeah, and of course, data becomes metadata, becomes metadata, becomes data. So it's kind of a nested system, but it's important to think about all the aspects of the information you will be generating in your career as scientists. And so the data management plan, and the rest of the team will walk you through a little bit more details. It's really about the data collection, what you gather, the format, the instrument, which filters you use on the flow cytometer and things like that. The documentation, so the code books, the standards that are specific to your field or your research. Storage and backup, I mentioned, if it's human data, it's going to need to be encrypted. You may need to say, I'm going to retain it for a specific length of time. So how do you preserve the data? So for example, OICR has a policy where after 7 years, we're supposed to delete data we don't use anymore. Sharing and reuse. So, Alex said, we have a license CC by share alike. What's the best license for your project? Once you're producing something, remember to put a license on it so we know what we can or cannot do with it. Responsibility, who's the owner of your data? You may be building a platform, but doesn't mean you own the data that resides in the platform. And ethical legal compliance. So in particular with human data, you're going to need approval from institutional review board or ethics review board that your data complies with ethical requirements. So typically we don't test drugs on a pregnant woman or children unless there's a really good reason to do it, for example. And so if you're able to hit those points in your research data management plan that you will submit as part of your funding proposal, you can really think about the opportunities that arise. So your results are reproducible. So that means, I can use the data set that you produce and I can feed it into my own research. We can work together, which is always a good thing, in particular nowadays where, science is rarely a one-person job. We can find data. There's a lot of data that's available that's really hard to find just because we don't know where it lives. It's compliant. You're going to have to write a research data management plan, or you will not get the money. Fraud prevention, which I like to call trust. Can I trust the treatment that my GP is recommending, or is it derived from a fake 2024 preprint? And then robust, so we can actually understand what's happening inside, in particular, AI in the black box for the models. And so Alex talked a little bit about the agenda, so we're going to go into great depth over here. Michelle and Linda will talk about Git. So Git's really useful if you want to store your code if you want your code to be reproducible. It talks about versioning. It talks about sharing. So a very critical system nowadays. If you ever write any sort of code, you will want to use Gates. Edmund and Hardeep, big data models and standard experts, and they will explain how you can actually make your data ready for machine usage so that somebody can reuse it, can process it computationally. And David Bujold will talk about open source software platforms. So, how to build tools that are shareable and reusable so that you can host your data in a way that the data can be managed responsibly, and that, I can go and find your data because I want to reuse your research for my own. All right. Promise the references, and I'm handing over to Michelle. And I think I'm on time.
Yeah.
Yay. Any quick questions or anything before we jump in? All right. Thank you.